Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Economic Development Planning Committee. All the legislators are members. Do we have any discussion before we start? No discussion. Let's get right on to one resolution we have. Resolution adopting introductory law 6, a local law authorizing the county executive to sign the second amendment to the intermunicipal agreement among the counties of Montgomery, Otsego, and Schoharie, and the cities of Rome and Utica for the purpose of renewing the intermunicipal agreement. This is it's renewing the land bank agreement between us. Is there any sponsor? Chairman Peck, seconded by Legislator Sweet. All those in favor?
Aye.
Move that to the full legislature. Is there any other discussion? If there's no further discussion of the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Martin Kelly. Right back.
Call the Health and Human Services Committee to order. It's a committee of the whole. Is there any discussion from the legislature? First resolution is resolution amending the 2022 operating budget, Montgomery County mandated forensic billing mental health. I'll look for a sponsor. Legislator Wilson, seconded by Legislator Diamond. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
I oppose.
Next is resolution confirming appointment of Thomas Lipby as acting commissioner of social services through June 30th, 2023. I'll sponsor.
I'll second.
Seconded by Legislator Patel. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Carried. Next is a resolution confirming the appointment of Commissioner of Health and Human Services made by the County Executive.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Patel, seconded by Chairman Peck. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Carried. And next is a resolution amending the 2022 operating budget, social services. I'll sponsor. Seconded by Legislator Wilson. And I propose a change. Being it's committee, we don't need an amendment. Income to increase to $1,317,210. Adding an expenditure line of A-06-9900-00-9950 capital projects in the amount of $7,200. $700,000. I'm trying to save some money. Any discussion?
What's that? Why was that changed?
For the capital project in the new building. It's Medicaid reimbursement. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried. Anything under other? Motion to adjourn. Legislator Sweet, seconded by Legislator Wilson.
I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting at 6:04. Public Safety Committee of the whole. All members are voting members. First of all, the privilege of the floor. The public or inclusive. Seeing none, we'll go right to the resolutions. Resolution approving the sale of surplus equipment. Looking for a sponsor. Legislator Wilson, Chairman Peck. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. This will move through the full legislature. Resolution authorizing the county executive to sign a renewal agreement for the 2023 transportation of Fulton County veterans.
I'll sponsor.
Sponsor Legislator Kelly, Legislator Patel. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. That'll pass through the full legislature. Next resolution, resolution amending the 2022 operating budget, requesting additional funds for indigent veteran burial.
I'll sponsor.
Sponsors legislator Kelly, legislator Pertel. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. That resolution will carry to the full legislature. Next resolution, resolution to obtain a municipal certificate of need to establish an operating authority in Montgomery County. For a sponsor, Chairman Pep. Second, legislator Wilson. Discussion.
Can we have someone just expound on that a little bit? I know that we all heard it before, but
What would you like?
just a little more explanation of what's going on with this resolution.
Well, Bob, let me just start real quick before Jeff gets into it. Obviously, this is something we've been looking into for a long time. This is a big step in the process as far as us getting control of our own destiny, so to speak, and giving us the ability to manage ambulance service a little bit better in the county and have that state authority. And we have, looking into this year, this is going to give us an opportunity to do so. Jeff and the emergency management team and the sheriff's office have all worked together with Megan in working up this resolution. And then from there, you can tell you a little bit about what to expect with the application and then the next 2 years as far as the process goes.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So once the resolution is passed through the full committee board, it goes to New York State Department of Health. They give the approval. That gives us a 40-day window to get our first BLS service into motion, which we basic life support. So we've already established that with the sheriff's office. We're working with them directly. And Justin, we've already have the supplies obtained. We already have the vehicles that we will be using. And these will be deputies that already are either paramedics or EMTs that are already certified. So there's no training or cost at this time for that.
So the deputies will act like the fly cars?
Correct. There will be a fly car, and they will only be responding if the ambulance service is delayed or they're calling out of service. They're not going to be going to every single call. The first priority is going to be law enforcement. So if we have a delayed response from one of the ambulance services and we have one of the fly cars in service, that fly car will respond to that call. Or if we have an ambulance service that is called out of service, delayed response, it will be the same effect.
The benefit of that is if we relied on volunteer fire departments to have the fly cars, they may not be manned quick enough to get there.
Yes. So this is a small mandate. This is small, but it bridges the gap a little bit, just to give that level of care to our residents until the ambulance service gets there.
Very good. Thank you.
Very well, Jeff.
What will happen if the deputy who's in the fly car goes on an ambulance call and then a police-related call comes in for the area that he or she is?
Justin? Jeff?
So, if the deputy responds and is on scene, and there is no other first responder on scene that's either a certified first responder or EMT, the deputy will have to stay with that medical patient, and another law enforcement car will respond to that incident in the area. We'll shift our staffing around.
Okay.
But it's important to stress that our law enforcement functions will 100% of the time come first.
So is there like a shared service between the sheriff's department and troopers or something like that? Or I mean, if like.
Oh yeah, we already have.
I know, but I'm saying if you had a deputy who was going to a call and he was on an ambulance call and then a police-related call came in, would they shift a trooper to that?
Or a deputy.
But if a deputy wasn't
Yes,
close?
we do that now, every day.
Okay.
So many times our deputies are tied up on law enforcement calls, and another law enforcement call comes in.
So just let's move.
Right. And I should note that this is a trial, this is like something that we're trying, and if it doesn't work on our end, I'll be the first one to explain to Jeff or Steve Cook that this isn't really working for us, so.
And just to give a little bit more background, we just didn't come up with this today. This has been a 2 or 3 month process. We're working with Steve Cook, our EMS coordinator. We work with the sheriff's office. It's been a long process. We have a lot more work to do. We're taking baby steps. So we're going to keep reevaluating, see how things go. We'll keep moving forward. We'll keep looking at different ideas. We're meeting with other counties They have to go through the same processes that we're looking at to get ideas from them so that we can further the process and we'll keep you up to date on what we're doing.
Have we had many extended wait times for ambulance lately?
Yes, we have.
It's
Yep.
continuing?
It's continuing, yes, many, like, response times, out of service calls. So, like I said, and we're also going to be working with all the ambulance services in the county, trying to work with them to figure out what the best way is to bridge this gap and help them out. So, like you said, small Band-Aid, at least we're moving forward and trying to rectify this.
Legislator Sweet, you should know too that this will be in conjunction with fire department response, hopefully. And if there is an EMT in a fire department, then the law enforcement official will be able to leave, because they'll be able to turn over patient care.
Good.
Is that correct? And we're very lucky to have 4 deputies that are certified already, so that we don't have to do a thing other than provide them with a go bag, which we've already, worked on getting ready to roll, so we can start right away once it's approved.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
So, just so I understand the process, so a call comes in and who decides that the fly car or the deputy goes there? Is it the 911 center that has some criteria that they go through and says, okay, send Sergeant Smith there?
Go ahead, Steve.
So what happens when a 911 call comes in, the ambulance for that territory is activated? The policy that we have set up with the ambulance services in our county, with the exception of the city of Amsterdam, because they're very compact, is that ambulance tells us the level of staffing that they have and where they're responding from. So that way the 911 dispatcher has an idea on how long that ambulance is going to take to get there. If there's a delayed response and the fire department isn't available, then that 911 dispatcher will send a deputy that's in their fly car.
But that deputy will have the authority to tell the dispatcher that they are busy on a law enforcement function, so that they're unavailable.
So it's going to decrease the risk associated with
Correct.
these. So, well, thank you for explaining that. Thank you for your service and your anticipated.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. This resolution will move to the full legislature. That's the last resolution for the committee. Motion to adjourn. Some legislator Kelly, legislator Patel. 6:13.
All right, on behalf of Legislator Duchessis, I'd like to call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. Committee meeting to order at 6:13. And remind that this is also a committee of the whole. And open up the floor for discussion for anything. Okay, hearing none, we'll move to our first of a couple of resolutions. First resolution amending the 2022 operating budget. Do I have a sponsor? Legislator Sweet, Legislator Wilson. Discussion.
Is this above and beyond the ARPA funds that were set?
No, this is just reallocating the funds that were already from previous resolution just into more appropriate lines so that it can pay for the project.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that'll carry on to our full meeting next week. And the second resolution regarding the powers and duties of the Deputy Commissioner, Department of Public Works. Sponsor? Legislator Diamond. Have a second? Legislator Kelly. Discussion. Would you, Nicole, would you like to expound on this a little?
Sure. So when the position was established, I believe that it was established within the budget, the position typically in most counties is non-competitive. When I went to New York State Civil Service to have the position non-competitive in our county, they said that there was no powers given to the position either through the charter or through the legislature. So this is just correcting that so that I can make this position through the state hopefully non-competitive.
What's the advantage of it being non-competitive?
The position would be at the will of the commissioner, It's not a tested position, and that person could act fully on behalf of the commissioner.
Leg stroke out and got dead, you'll have a guy that can take over.
I know a place you can go.
Is this a tested position now?
It's considered provisional because the state rejected my initial request for it to be non-competitive.
So is there a job description that comes along with it?
Yes. It's been posted for, and it's currently filled. So we're just attempting to correct. It's been like that for quite a while. So the second attempt.
Any
Unit
further,
clarification.
I'm sorry?
Unit clarification.
Yes.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I also understand that the executive Ossenfort would like to say something. Did you just whisper that in my ear about a half hour ago?
Talked about staffing, if you
Oh, yes. Okay, I was kind of with that. Yeah, so just, this is going to be a start to a conversation that we're going to have pretty much all year long. I think anyone that's been awake has understand we're having workforce struggles. And there's been a number of things that have happened specifically that, you know, are happening right now that I think you need to be aware of and we need to look to try to address. The first is, and, you know, I'm digging into it and trying to, you know, it's actually a little bit kind of alluded, but the governor is throwing more money at highway workers and, you know, that has a trickle-down effect on our people and looking for other opportunities and risk losing the people that we still have. So I want to just have that discussion tonight about, and give Eric a few minutes to talk about, you know, what he's seeing in his staffing at DPW. But additionally, this is happening with the state and public health department. We're having to compete with the market, which, you know, has a little more flexibility on raising wages. And you add in, you know, the things we've talked about a lot with retirement not being as, and healthcare not being as much of a draw. You know, we're really going to face some issues as far as manpower, like every other organization. And with what happened going into the winter season, I thought it would be a good opportunity for Eric to talk about what he's experiencing. But we are experiencing it countywide, and it is a challenge. Nicole has begun, and we have the first phase of a salary study done. This company is doing salary studies for counties across the state. Everyone is trying to get a handle on this, and there's some really serious fears about you know, workforce and services provided. So just want to start that discussion. We planned, I met with Nicole last week, I'm talking about it every single month this coming year because those are the challenges we face. I will say, and I think Mr. Lippy would probably back us up, we made some changes in DSS last year with salaries, thank you, and we've actually seen some real positive results from that. But there's other positions within just that department that need to be addressed, and this is going to be an ongoing conversation. So when Eric brought this to my attention, I thought this would be a great way to kind of kick off this discussion. Nicole and I met for a couple hours, went over the initial look at the salary study, but there's going to be a lot of this coming down. It's going to have to be a dialogue we have all year long going into budget season, and we're going to have to make some tough decisions. The one interesting stat I saw, and I'll leave you with this, out of the total workforce, it's predicted that 46% of people plan on quitting their jobs next year and moving to another job. So this is the world we're living in on a day-to-day basis. It's very difficult. We're just not getting the applications that we used to do even when I was here in the beginning, when we had the new government just turning over. So don't want to take up too much of your time, but just this is going to be an issue that we have to address. It's not going to be easy, but we're working on it, and I'm going to bring some more information forward. Eric, you want to talk a little bit about, you know, what you're experiencing with the highway workers? Is, you know, because the press release comes out, you know, I think a lot of people see, oh, everybody's getting $9,000. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but the end result is still the same. You know, people are looking elsewhere, and people are looking to try to wear. And if we stay still, we're gonna lose people. And that's gonna only create more challenges down the road, so, Rich?
Yeah, basically, it was brought to my attention last week by, several of my highway guys that, New York State DOT give a $9,000 raise across the board, which basically works out to $4.50 an hour, $4.60 an hour, to all highway and truck drivers, operators, supervisors, mechanics. And that's their way to, go after and recruit other highway workers. I had a meeting with several other commissioners from across the state last Thursday, and they're saying the same thing in their counties. And they're taking action to try to retain the personnel that they have. Personally, it can't be a year-long discussion, because you won't have a highway department this time next year if you don't do something. We have 400 miles of roads. You go up and down, that's 800 miles. That's from here to South Carolina. And I know that, 'cause I travel it every year. So, and I don't mean to sound as a threat, but I know, because my guys have told me, they're looking. I've already had 2 go there for an interview. I've got 7 vacancies right now. I lose 2, 3 more guys, you've got 1 crew. That's it. We can't function. So, and it's a shame, because you guys have worked hard to replace all the equipment to get this department where it needs to be into the 21st century. And now we're not gonna have guys to operate it or to staff that new building up on the hill that we got. You know, that's, so yeah, that's, in a nutshell, that's what we're facing. I ran some numbers, just so you know. Should I have to bid everything out next year, $4 million worth of chips that we maintain on a minimum 40 to 50 miles of road per year, with that $4 million to our single sales, paving, maintenance, doing it in-house and getting everything ready. If I had to sub everything out, my guess is 12 to 15 million. So you're gonna get about 8 miles of road done. Not enough. So, yeah, echo what Matt says, that it's, you know, it's gonna be a challenge, but I hear him say all year, if we're still having this discussion next year, it'll be like, okay, guys, I don't know what to tell you, but next year is gonna be even tougher. So, just.
Well, I think we're gonna have to prioritize, and, you know, so we've, you know, I've sat down with Nicole, we've talked this over, and we're working on it. By ongoing, you know, we're gonna have to keep addressing things. And once we get done with one, there's gonna be another one to go, and, you know, this is from, you know, all bargaining units, management, non-management, there's a lot to work on there, so we just wanna have, you know, go through it throughout the year. But, you know, the big thing that scares me is if the state government starts trying to get creative on how to keep their employees or attract new ones, where are they gonna come from? They're gonna come from local government. They're gonna come from towns. They're gonna come from county government. That's because you got this retirement system and they can transfer very easily. So if it's public health and highway workers now, where they're trying to incentivize and add, you know, this extra beef, you know, well, what's then next? Is it going to be, you know, how many workers towns we had, you know, leave to the state already over the past years in DSS? You know, and so we have to be prepared for that, and it's going to be one thing after the other. And we're prime hunting ground for employees if the state really wants to start throwing additional cash around.
Mechanics too, man, you know, because that would really affect Jeff's budget. I got 3 mechanics that keep his equipment in tip-top shape, you know, and Jeff had to look for outside sources too to fix everything, as well as the DSS cars. That might go through the roof as well. So
and our salary study, you know, is $17,000 we paid for it. Nicole's working hard on that, and we're gonna take what the department's saying, sit down with our, you know, executive team, Nicole, and then come to you with recommendations and try to figure out how we can pay for some of these things and take from there.
Legislator Tuck? You had your hand up.
What's the anticipated cost for your projected increases that you have to achieve to keep employees?
Well, it says our entry-level truck drivers right now are 39,000.
A little over 39.
A little over 39, which is the same as DOT. So with their 9,000 increase, that bumped that up to 48,000 for entry level truck
So
driver.
let's say $9,000 per employee. How many DPW employees are there?
Altogether, I have a staff of, with clerical, about 56 or 58. There's 24 to 5 highway, same buildings and grounds, 3 mechanics, sign shops.
$600,000.
I didn't do that math, but it's gotta be
56
close.
times 9, 56 times 10 is $560,000.
I got just to underscore what Matt said, in regard to the support that you gave us for the increase in caseworker salary for budgeted positions. We are the only fully staffed services department in the state. And that's based on conversations with fellow commissioners. So that just goes to show you the positive impact of just a two-step bump in salary can have.
What was the financial impact of that?
I'm sorry.
What was the financial impact of that?
Well, with caseworkers, they're subsidized 62%. So,
But what was the increase in?
What was our cost?
Off the top of my head.
But what was the basic increase per
Oh,
caseworker?
for a caseworker,
couple of $1,000,
Yeah.
2 or 3,000?
yeah,
about that.
about that.
We reallocated both the caseworkers last year and actually the MEO1s and MEO2s. And despite those efforts, we're seeing that, perhaps there's going to be more of a draw. The state typically does that over the course of time, whether it was the Medicaid workers when they did the Medicaid takeover, or whether it's when parole does their big hiring. They take our probation officers and our caseworkers as well. So it's kind of like the cyclical, but at post-pandemic, we're feeling it even more than we ever have.
Just to give you an idea about, if you're talking about financial impact on the broader picture, the early numbers that we got from the salary study, that a statewide implementation, or a countywide implementation of these recommendations are going to be, I thought it was over $1 million. So what we're going to look to do in my conversation with Nicole and Eric is, what are the most critical needs? Let's prioritize those and work through the process, because we know it's not going to be a one-time thing where we're just going to go paint the brush.
So this is what
Yeah, absolutely, go on. Keep going.
what concerns me is, look, I'm all for employees, I'm all for paying people what they're worth. But how do we curb the increasing, well, they got this, next? How do we across the board, how many county employees do we have?
Just under 500.
500 employees. It seems that, we're always playing the catch-up game, and the finger often points to, well, here's my counterpart making this, why aren't I? Okay, well, now we're going to make you whole. What can we do to have a more planned, how do we take control of this avalanche rather than the avalanche? What's the strategic plan going to be to get this under control so we're not just playing piggyback all the time?
Reactive.
And being reactive, being proactive rather than reactive, and we can have a better, and that, maybe that's a rhetorical question. Maybe what I'm saying is that's what I would like to see, is some strategic plan that says, look, this is what we're going to do, because this is just going to keep on going.
Well, yeah, and I think maybe it looks reactive, we're just going to take the opportunity, because it was time sensitive, to give Eric the floor and bring this to your attention, because it's something specific that the state had done. But we've been working on this for some time, and actually the salary study first draft was I just reviewed. So really, this is the pre-pep talk before we come out in January and say, hey, these are the positions that we're looking at. Here's what the timetable to expect on the salary study. Here's a list of critical positions, and also how they affect the other positions in the organization. So really, we're going through every bargaining unit one by one and looking through them, finding where the glaring gaps are, working with the department head. Once all that information has been put together, then coming to you for some direction on what you'd like to approach. But I just want to make sure you guys have the information you need. And then there's data there. It's not just hey, like you said, Fulton County pays this, or, we have a few openings in this. We're always gonna have openings, we're always trying to hire, but where are the critical gaps? And we're in that process of identifying those for you.
Thank you for that discussion.
Legislator.
Matt, with what direction you're talking, I do agree, but I also look at the morale within the county when you targeted one area versus another area, and I think Bob was hitting on it a little bit, where you just hit a little bit, a 3-year plan and say this year we're gonna do this much. I mean, yes, it'd be nice to take a truck driver and go 9,000 in 1 year, but do you go across the board and help everyone and slowly within the 3 years so they can kind of see, if I stay here, this is where I'm gonna be. But when you pick and choose, I don't think it's.
Well, I think you gotta really look at what has happened, because it hasn't just been picking and choosing. That often gets the attention because it'll rub someone the wrong way. If you got someone in a position that we're having no problem filling versus another, that's where a lot of the decisions on the specifics came. But don't forget, in all these last contracts that we negotiated, we made significant increases in longevity and significant changes to these various increments that are aimed at retaining employees. And when these employees, if they really want to look at what is the value of working at Montgomery County, look no further than the last contracts, where we showed that we care about these employees, not with talk, with what's in the contract. And really, it's made a difference. So we get a lot of attention, well, this guy got this and I didn't get this. We had good raises, we had good longevity boosts, changes to the increment by, when I say increment, it's okay, not just, I believe it was not having you get your first year bump, but then you don't get one until year 5. And didn't we add one in between that?
We have added steps.
So we've added steps and doing those things. So I just want to make sure we are looking at the big picture, but sometimes when you got somebody like Eric B. showing up at your office and saying you're not going to have a highway department, sometimes we're going to need to focus on those specific things. Then that conversation happens with Nicole on how do we mitigate any of the issues, whether they be union or non-union issues, or what do they call it, the crunch in the organization, because you change this and all of a sudden a supervisor might be making less than someone who's working a little overtime, and you have those issues. So we're being mindful of that, but also as the organization as a whole, I think we've been very, very pro-employee across the board. And I think if anything where we could improve, and just to be completely frank, is communicating that to every employee and making sure that they're aware. Because what I find when I talk to employees is some of them don't realize that these changes happen, and that there were a lot of good things that were in there for you that you may not realize. And it might not happen until the paycheck goes up. It was when they realize it. But we're really trying to build that stuff in there and do what we can to retain employees.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, if I could just add one thing, you all did a great job with the contract increases for across the board with all bargaining units, but a straight across the board sometimes is not equitable, because we have some salaries, some titles within our county that are well underpaid versus others. So we have to make sure that we do address those, and through education and through the salary studies, we're being able to identify those positions.
Legislator Sweet, you had a question.
Well,
I see Legislator Patel's hand.
Will some of the contracts, or any of the contracts, have to be renegotiated because of this?
I have the right, if you don't mind me saying, under civil service law, we have the right to reallocate, I have the right to, under civil service, to reallocate a grade, reallocate a title into a proper grade. Should we have a discussion with the union, we typically do.
Right, so if you're changing a grade, but I'm just saying, like Eric said, $9,000, would that, I mean, if you're just.
Change the grade, it would change.
But if you weren't changing the grade, if you're just adding salary.
We can't, we have to change the grade because they're grouped into certain classifications.
We wouldn't have to go back so we're in pretty much, for the rest of the time I'm here, there's only one more contract to go. And so that just kind of gives you an idea. Everything's good through the end of 3 years from now. So really what it's going to be is, it's just having that ongoing dialogue with the union and communicating. They're a big key part in mitigating some of those challenges that may happen. I remember last year when we were doing the discussion about DPW and the caseworkers, you know, we had a big, pretty somewhat heated at times meeting with the union, and it was great because we got the information out there, they understood, there was some, you know, misconceptions going into it, you know, and I think it settled for the better, but there was work to be done. We even said in that meeting that, you know, we know that we'll be back doing this. I mean, one title that comes to mind is social welfare examiners and DSS. That was on the table last time, but again, try not to bring too much at once. So, you know, it's manageable for the legislature, that you don't have to take, you know, so we can do it a little bit at a time, you know, over your, I don't know if that answered your question.
So are you only looking at salary only, or are you looking at, let's say, benefits as far as contributions to health insurance? Is that something that could be all incorporated?
So we did address you know, on the health insurance side, we have made some changes, but our healthcare plan is very generous as it is. And from a cost perspective, I think we want to stay at the 25% employee contribution rate. That's one of the big numbers. And a lot of work has been done there, cleaning up that portion of these contracts. So I really think, and what we've seen, the retirement isn't the draw that it used to be. The health insurance even isn't, because especially with the exchange, people that have children can get their health care for their kids through the exchange, so it's not as big of a draw. The problem we're seeing is, and Eric will attest to it, the sheriff will attest to it, when we were having our negotiations, they're looking at the number. They want to know what that number is, whether it's dollar per hour, or it's what are you going to pay me over the year, and that seems to be the critical issue at this point.
Sometimes short-sighted.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add one other quick thing though, for the highways, it's, the FTA, Federal Transportation Administration, they made it mandatory for schooling to get your CDL. So anybody who currently holds a CDL license in this state right now, that's gold. You know, I hold one myself, I don't know if any of you guys hold one, but without having to pay $5,000 to $6,000 to go to a training school and get that certificate. I brought 2 guys in, we trained them. We hired them, they went to their permit. We trained them, helped them get their license. We can't do that anymore. We're not allowed. We have a trainer on staff to do that, and who knows what that would cost. So the kids today, young guys, are home getting that license. As they retire and leave, there's no truck drivers. So you get to that age, if you're thinking, I don't use this thing anymore, I'm gonna get rid of it, don't, because you can set your own pay rate. You really can.
So the last thing I want to address is what I picked up on. Your statement was equitability. And it's often the perception of equitability. So I think we need to be careful with that. And I guess my whole statement before was just trying to be on the upper end of this and stop that forever rolling ball. It's always going to be there, but perception of equitability seems to be a topic sometimes around here.
But I heard what you said about the subcontractor, 7 positions, but many subcontractors are going through the exact same problem. A good friend of mine of 30 years experience closed up shop this week. Main reason, I got contracts, I got trucks, I got equipment, I got no help. He says he gave up after a year. He just cannot get people. So
our problem is we can't give up.
I admire you for being creative, but it's, in other words, the second tier are coming down, the subcontractors are having the same problem.
Yeah.
And we're in different times, so we got to be creative, you know.
Well, we'll be, thank you for your information, Executive Ossenfort and Commissioner and Nicole, and for laying some pipe here, you know, in anticipation of addressing this very important need, and thank goodness, we are in a good position financially to perhaps entertain this, with our fund balance and, and our sales tax contributing to that. So, we'll be all ears. All right. I guess that's it for the resolutions, and we voted on this, and I brought up Matt's thing at the end, so a motion to adjourn. legislator Sweet, and Diamond. Adjourned at, Sheriff, 6:40.
Okay, we'll call the Education Government Committee to order at 6:40. First thing on the agenda is discussion for the chair committee members. Anyone have anything for this committee? Hearing none, we'll move on to the first resolution. It's a resolution setting the date and time of the 2023 organizational meeting. Sponsor, Chairman Tubb, Legislator Wilson. Discussion. Everyone good? Well, I guess we have to go to the time. It's charter based, so.
No choice.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Move to the full board. And the second resolution is a resolution amending the 2022 operating budget. Board of Election, need a sponsor. My sponsor, Legislator Wilson, second. Discussion? Legislator Kelly?
Sean, in the line item, let's see, which one is it? Printing and copying, there's only 20,000 available, are unexpended in that line. So if our goal is to make the temporary help.
Can't do it.
Right. Okay. And during the budget process, we were told that it was a reimbursable, that's why we gave the raises.
Yeah, well, the revenues offsets this expense, but the expense line is short, is what they're saying. But if, what they're saying is they're not gonna bill for the printing and whatever the other line is. They're not gonna be backfilling for the special supplies and the printing. So they're moving into the personnel. But they are gonna have to find 5,000 somewhere else.
Right, because there's only 20,000 in that line.
Right.
So how can
I wasn't aware of that. So between now and next week, they gotta find 5,000. I didn't talk to this is news to me.
We'll make sure we get it fixed, Legislator Kelly.
And are there maintenance agreements and stuff, are they on an annual basis, so they haven't been expended yet?
I'm only seeing special supplies and printing copy.
I'm looking at the,
Oh.
there's 4,000 in property rental lease repair. Nothing's been expended out of that. We increased that line item through an amendment, and nothing's been expended. And then in maintenance agreements, 10,000, nothing's been expended. So they could pull it from there unless it's an annual contract.
Possible,
But I'd like to know how they're gonna pull 25,000 out of a line that only has 20,000.
Pay bills unless it goes through the year-end process.
good? For now? So we'll see it change, but
An amendment,
yeah.
We'll get on it.
grabbing $5,000 from someplace. All set?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
No payments. 1, 3.
All right, anything else under other? Hearing none, on motion to adjourn.
So moved.
6:44.
All right, I'd like to call the Budget and Finance Committee to order at 6:44. Remind its committee of the whole. And ask if there's anything anybody would like to bring to the floor before we entertain the resolutions. Hearing none, we'll go into the resolutions. Our first resolution, authorizing the county executive to sign a contract amendment under InfoQuick Solutions Incorporated for online searching service fees.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Kelly, Legislator Sweet. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that moves to next week. The next resolution authorizing county executive to sign contracts insurance coverage. I'll Do I have a sponsor?
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Wilson, Legislator Diamond. Discussion.
Under financial impact, it just needs to say included in the 2023 operating budget.
Oh, not
Megan
and Sean.
Yeah.
Megan and Sean should be the justification.
No, we just found a short gap.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution, our next resolution authorizing the county executive to sign agreement, Soil and Water Conservation District.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Kelly, Legislator Sweet. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that moves to next week. Next resolution authorizing county executive to sign agreement Office for the Aging.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Kelly, Legislator Wilson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Moves to next week. Our next resolution authorizing the county executive to sign agreement Cornell Cooperative Extension.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Kelly, Legislator Sweet.
I have a correction.
Okay.
Said contract shall be effective January 1, 2023 to December 2023.
Correct.
It says
22. We'll fix that. Okay. Did we vote? We good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Our next resolution, approving re-levy of delinquent school taxes, village taxes, water rents, and sewer taxes.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Kelly. Anybody else? Legislator Diamond. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. That moves to next week. Our next resolution accepting bids, 2022 online real property tax foreclosure auction. I'll sponsor it. Legislator Patel. I do have an item for discussion. You were all forwarded from the treasurer a few days ago this list of all the bids and the total amount of dollars if they were all collected after redemptions. And we cannot make that part of this resolution until next week, according to Counselor. So.
No, you can add it now.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll be made part of
Oh.
next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry.
just-
I misunderstood. All right. All right. And we will add this to it for next week. All
Is it
right.
all been collected?
Sorry?
No.
No.
We can't start collecting until you approve goods.
Any further discussion?
Did pretty well, though.
Yeah, it was a, 6 years here. This is one of the bigger totals. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Moves to next week. Our next resolution amending the salary of various elected officials. I will sponsor that resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Legislator Wilson, discussion. Executive, you want to discuss it at all?
Sure, yeah.
Explain rationale, et
Yeah,
cetera, et cetera?
again, amid the discussion from earlier, as you know, salary what is set prior to a term remains that salary for the rest of the term. So whatever the salary for these two elected positions is going to be for next year will be the same for the following 4 years. So if we don't make a change, you have 8 years without a salary change. We did not, in looking at it, didn't think that we needed to make a major adjustment, but a cost of living increase, I thought was appropriate. What is on the sheet is the equivalent of a 2% raise over the prior term, which I thought set a good
2% per year.
Correct. So it would be the equivalent of 2% of each of the past 4 years, which I thought was a good place to be, given that all of our contracts were negotiated at 3%. So I thought it was a manageable number, more of a cost of living adjustment than anything, in my opinion. And if I have any questions, I'll note that this was something that came from my office, and looking at it, this is not something that was a response from me to something. I just felt that, with this end of the year coming, and now was the time to do or not do something, I felt given the outside forces that a cost of living adjustment was appropriate. But obviously, it's
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that passes till next week's meeting. And our final resolution approving the abstract of audited claims. Legislator Kelly, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And we'll just take a quick minute to review the dashboards.
Right.
Yes.
Just, if you're asking one question, the audit isn't being done until Thursday this week, so your file for the abstract will be on next week's. Attached to the-
So there's no,
All set? Just we'll take a quick review of the dashboards through November. Really tracking well here with expenses. Education, we know the situation there as we pay those things in advance. But on the revenue side, we can see that, as is normally the case because of the 60-day float there, the reimbursement on the federal state aid, DSS a little slow. In the 80 range, 80 percentile with Fed, but just pushing 50% with the state. I don't know if we have some people here tonight, Tom and Jess. Any reason why the state is so slow reimbursing? I mean, you're filing your claims fairly timely. I mean, October's are in. I'm sure November's will be in. If not today, it's soon, right?
Yep, so they were actually submitted yesterday, and all of the journal entries went over yesterday as well, and that was for November.
Yeah.
This morning, pardon me.
Yeah.
The problem with the state is, the state does what the state wants, and they send
Yeah.
money when they want to.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they aren't necessarily forthcoming with answers.
Okay.
About that.
All right. Thanks, Jess.
Just to add, thanks to Jess and Cynthia, we've been submitting those claims actually ahead of time.
Yeah, that's been marked improvement there over the last 12, 18 months. And we thank you for your efforts there. And on to the sales tax report. All right, through 2 December payments, we are up $4,516,000 year over year. So we have 3 more sales tax payments coming in, representative of the year 2022. 1 more for December, 2 for January, which are still December receipts. And we're up a little over $4.5 million. What does that mean? Last year, we collected $41,556,000. If we don't make any gains with these last 3 payments, we'll be up over $46 million. So that's some of the money we may need to use to help keep some of our employees. So, is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Legislator Kelly, Legislator Dunn, adjourned at 7:54. 6:54, sorry.